Welcome to She Sells Radio. Well, I am so excited for today's episode and guest. And I almost thought, gosh, we should have hit record a few minutes ago because we started talking about Zoom fails. And I hope there won't be any today on this call. But I can already tell, I love this woman. You're going to have so much fun learning from her as well. And the other thing that's so exciting is I know she is going to help us really up level what's a very important aspect of sales that I really haven't talked about too much yet on the show, which is your visual brand. And when I think about the brands and the companies that I'm most loyal to, what often drew me in at the beginning was the visual elements of their brand and like the feelings they evoked in me. And if you know me well, I'm someone who invests a chunk of money in coaching every year. And for so many of the coaches I've worked with, they really drew me in first with this very high-end look and feel to their brand, which at that point, I really wanted to experience in my own life. And then they hooked me with helpful content and their hearts. And then that ultimately converted me to being a customer, but it still came down to that first impression with their brand. And so whether you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're a sales professional who sells via social, which we all do, by the way, even if you don't think you are doing it. The visual element of your brand is so key. And my guest today is going to help you elevate your brand and your image online tremendously. And so with all of that build up, my guest today is Johanna White. She is an award-winning graphic designer and visual branding strategist who designs premium brand identities that create impactful first impressions. And she's the founder of Design by Joe Studio, and for over 10 years has worked with individuals, startups, and Fortune 200 brands worldwide to help them brand like the best and attract ideal clients, which we all want more of. So, Johanna, welcome to She Sells Radio. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you, Elyse. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, and part of what I love about what you said, because you were kind of fixing your hair and I was too before we started. And I was like, you look so great and so polished. And so of course on brand. And you were like, oh, it was in a messy bun 5 minutes ago. And we were like, the great thing about Zoom and Zooming is we only see half the head. So the back is we only have to do half the work for it to create the great visual brand on video. So anyway, I love you already. And I'm so excited for the conversation. And with all of that, it's as if there wouldn't be enough for us to talk about just with visual brand, which we're going to dive into deep. Your personal story, though, is so compelling. And when I read this about you, I was like, I just need to I need to get in her brain and learn how she thinks. So part of your story is that several years ago, you started 3 companies within 1 year, while, as if that wasn't enough, 3 companies in 1 year while battling a brain tumor. So, oh my gosh, tell us more about what happened. Obviously you're doing well now, but my mind is blown by you right now. And I want to hear about everything to do with that. So tell us more there, please.
All right. I will do my very best to give you the short version of that story without leaving you in a cliffhanger. I have,
yeah, we struggle with cliffhangers over here. So yeah, take your time. You're good. Take us through the story.
accidentally done that to people before. And they're like, so what now?
Okay.
How are you here?
There are certain things we can't do cliffhangers on. And I feel like this is one. So yes. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, you would think that that a brain tumor would only have been an obstacle that I pushed past and got through to get where I am today. And that is mostly true. But I would also say that a brain tumor, it was in 2014. I'm on the spot. I'm not going to say how many years ago that was because
sure. Well, it can be different times depending on when people are listening. Yeah, but it was okay. Yeah. So 2014. So
it was in 2014, and it was actually also the catalyst that drove me to do all that I'm doing today. Because before I had that, I was living a very safe life. I was always playing it safe. I was scared to put myself out there, and I was always flying under the radar because as long as nobody knows about you, you can't have haters and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I was very pretty low low income, like just enough to pay the bills. I was not working on my own at that time. I was working at a creative services agency. So I was doing design, but like in a really low form, and it was a really toxic culture. And like, you never knew if you were going to get fired from one day to the next. And it was, but I just, put my head down, pushed through, and was like, I'm just lucky to have a job. And I kind of lived in that mindset where I'm okay just existing.
Well,
And
yeah. And I apologize for interrupting, but I want to just hone in on one element before you go further, because I think it's like, that is one of the commonalities of the members of our community, is that in some way, shape, or form, oftentimes they have been living a safe life and they're done. Like they're really ready to put it all out on the line. And so I just, as you're listening to this, I want you as a listener to be thinking about, wow, like how much of that can you relate to? And maybe, are you still there in your life? Or have you taken the plunge and done what you're about to tell us? No doubt you did, but I want to appreciate and take a moment for that, because that's such a common theme amongst this community. So please continue.
yeah, and feel free to pull out themes anywhere along the way. There are so many. And I love relating them. Like, so much of what I learned and I'm about to tell you, created the way that I run my business today, and why, and a lot of the life lessons. So, I was rolling along middle of the road, and then I got diagnosed, and I apologize for the voice tremor here.
All good. All good.
It's like the one remaining reminder that this happened.
Take your time.
Sorry. Sometimes I talk about it and it's like my body goes, oh yeah, I remember what that was like.
For sure. I've got stuff like that too. Like, no, it's a big thing to jump right into. So thank you for being willing to.
Absolutely. So, it was not just an obstacle to overcome. It actually became the catalyst that pushed me out of my comfort zone, because I was walking along thinking I was healthy. And then one day I woke up with a pounding migraine that felt like pickaxe through my skull. I'd never even had a migraine before. It lasted for 4 days. And when it went away, all of a sudden I had all of these debilitating symptoms. Like I couldn't raise my left arm. I couldn't swallow. Wow. Food would come out my nose instead of going down my throat. I couldn't talk. My vocal cords were partially paralyzed, like all of these weird symptoms. So, started going around from doctor to doctor, went to the ER. They told me I was imagining it, sent me home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, super helpful. But eventually ended up at a neurosurgeon. Someone put the pieces together and said, this is controlled by your cranial nerves and you need to go get an MRI. So we did that. And I got the call from the doctor at like 8 p.m. I'm at work. I worked second shift. When you play it safe, sometimes you have to work a lot of jobs.
Oh, amen.
And it's not
that's
actually safe, right?
What you just said, but yeah, for sure. It's so true. Yeah.
So I was working also like a 5 p.m. till midnight job. And I got the call at 8 o'clock and I was like, okay, this isn't good. The doctor himself is calling me. It's 8 o'clock at night. And he tells me, we found a mass. We don't know much about it. Like the results are inconclusive. I heard that for the next 2 years. The results are inconclusive. So I also learned a whole lot about the illusion of certainty. And, which is something that's really come in handy in the last couple of years as people are like, nothing is certain. I learned then that certainty is like, it is your faith and that's about it. And everything else can shift and change. And even doctors, really talented, skilled doctors who have gone their whole lives to school to know things, like can still not know things. And so he tells me there's a mass, they don't know. And I just asked him like, am I going to die? And he said, I don't know. I don't know. And so that began a long journey of like 2 years of going from surgeon to surgeon, each one promising that they could operate on this. And then later telling me, never mind, we changed our mind. this thing we thought we were going to do, actually, we've only ever done on people in their 70s. So we don't know long-term. Like, I got a brain biopsy. Guess what? The results were inconclusive.
Oh my
And
gosh. Wow.
like, it just kept going. But shortly after the diagnosis, all my friends started, in the most well-meaning way, telling me that I needed to quit my job and go on Social Security to get Medicaid to cover what was surely a mountain of impending bills.
Wow.
And I didn't have insurance at the time because the agency I was at was keeping me at like 30 hours a week so that they didn't have to pay benefits. Another problem with playing it safe.
Yeah.
And so they kept telling me, like, you got to just quit. Like, you can't work enough. Like, pretty soon you might not be able to work at all. You need to get help.
So as if you're not already like stressed out enough about this thing that could be something, you don't know what it is. Now you've got the added, it's not even, from what I'm hearing from what you're saying, it wasn't even real yet. Like, you weren't getting all these medical bills yet, but they're saying you're like, it's coming. You've got to quit what you're doing. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love what you said about illusion of certainty, because that is so key in all of this. So keep going, but I'm just, I have chills through the story. It's wild.
That will come back again later, but
okay. Yeah.
So they were all telling me, like, just quit. And I looked at it and I looked at myself, and I could still physically function for the most part. Okay. And like, actually, I have a really cool story that like lays underneath of this, of what was happening on the inside and with faith and all of that. But on the outside, I was about to have a ton of bills, no way to pay it. And everyone was like, you got to just go rely on the government or something. Like, you need to do this. And I looked at it and I said, no, because if I do that, on the other side of that, let's say they do surgery and it costs a lot, like 100,000 or $1 million or whatever. And then I'm the person that went on Medicaid when they didn't have to. I could still function.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have such a hard time recovering from that in my career. And I want to look past this and go, no, I'm going to be healed. There's a Johanna on the other side of that who has a life, who is successful. And this would be really hard to recover from. And if I might die, especially if I just focus on right now. But if I look past it and say, there's a future, and in that future, I'm successful, then that successful person doesn't go on Medicaid when they don't have to. Oh my gosh. Mentally, I don't think I'll be able to recover from that. And that to me would be worse than this.
How did you stay during that? Like, how did you, I'm just putting myself in your shoes. How did you stay focused on that future vision when, and I love your perspective on that, but it's like everyone around you is telling you, play it safe, go on the defense. How did you, I guess maybe it was faith, or maybe you'll tell us more about it in a minute, but that's definitely something I want to know. Yeah.
I definitely will. That was definitely, I had reached the end of my ability to play it safe. And so like a few weeks after the diagnosis, and I've got all these people telling me this, I go back to my job. I'm looking around the office and I just went, I'm not going out like this. I was made for more. It's now or never. And I don't know how much time I have left, but I know that I was made, like, God gave me skills and talents and abilities, and I am not using them here. And if I'm going to be working through this, I want it to be something that's making a difference in people's lives. And if I'm not working, then I want to be spending my time with my family and my best friend. And like, so I just walked out and said, that's it. We're done. I quit. I can't waste what I have left. I don't know how much it is, but I am going to make the most of it.
Oh my gosh.
So I walked out of there and I literally started knocking on business doors and going, hi, I'm Johanna. I design stuff.
I love you. I love you. All right. So for everyone listening, like, you have done door-to-door sales. This is, there's some of us like from that school of hard knocks here, myself included. So you did that. Wow.
I did not do it the easy way in any way. And like now for my clients with branding, I try to shorten their runway so much. If I had that that powerful brand to make me look as good as I knew I was, it would have been much easier and a much shorter road. But still, it was something, and I started. So that was Starting Design by Joe.
Wow.
And then at the same time, I also had gotten this pair of yoga pants from someone that said, I will on the leg. And for a long time, I wanted to give up on working out because like migraines and couldn't move my left side and all this stuff. And a friend kind of coaxed me into trying yoga because it was gentle enough. I could still do both things. And the same people that were saying, quit your job, were also saying like, why are you trying to work out? Your body's like falling apart. It doesn't matter what you do. Why?
I have a feeling you changed your circle at some point during this. I mean, these
so
people,
goodness. So much. I even had one person say like, Johanna, you're being way too optimistic. You need to be prepared that it's not going to turn out well. And I was like, what? Good with that too.
Wow. Well, and one quick thing I want to play, and also I want to just first apologize. I mispronounced your name at the beginning. So Johanna, thank you. And one of the things I want to pull out from what you said is something we talk. I love this story, and I feel like there's just points I can pull out all along. So thank you for bearing with me.
Keep doing that.
I
love it.
One of the things that we talk about in over here in She Sells world is like, who are you taking advice from, and looking at from the people who you're thinking, you know, like you're taking their opinion. Do they have the life you want? And always filtering it through that lens. I mean, truly, and because so many people will have an opinion, especially when there's something really big going on like that. And looking at, do I want this person's life? Do I want their mindset? Do I want their bank account? Whatever it is. And if not, their opinion doesn't matter. So I wanted to kind of pull that out of what you're saying, because I would have, like you said, at some point you said, I'm going to shift friend circles and friends groups, but wow. Okay. So keep telling us about these workout pants, because these yoga pants, this is really interesting.
So I got these yoga pants. They were from a company in Switzerland, I think. And they said, I will on the leg. And I looked at those and I was like, I can, so I will. Like the fact that I can move at all still is a gift. And every single day that I can, I will. And so I'd put them in my drawer, I'd put them on my dresser, and I'd remember them, and I'd pull them out, and I'd be like, I can still move. I'm going to move, and I'm going to enjoy that. And the other thing that I started to realize, and I loved when I was listening to the podcast episode about, that I mentioned, now I'm blanking.
Oh, the how to release resistance one?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You mentioned a quote about that it's basically like, don't look at your circumstances and let them tell you what is happening, but instead you decide in your mind what the truth is and you tell your circumstances.
Yes.
And then it was also like that we don't fear the circumstance, we fear how the circumstance will make us feel. That was so true, because I started realizing like the symptoms that I was having would double when I panicked. And I panicked a lot initially. Like, as you can imagine, anxiety was high. Am I going to die? I don't know. And so I would go from partially like collapsed throat, couldn't breathe, to full out choking. And I quickly realized like, okay, as soon as panic gets in here, it's like the fear will kill me if the tumor doesn't. And so I don't know what I can do about the tumor, but I can do something about the fear. Wow. And so I just started like, that was my first thing to tackle. And I started putting in every positive input that I could. It didn't matter if I totally believed it. I just started putting it in, because my brain was like a hamster wheel of you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. I'm at work and it's like, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. And so I started finding every sermon that I could on healing. And I started just like listening to them while I worked and not even paying that much attention. Just, I needed an input that said, you can be healed. And then I found every verse in the Bible that talks about healing and like would play it at night and just started playing it and then started speaking it out. And that's when it started to change. And yes, like I mentioned, I had a lot of, friends that were not very encouraging, but I had one that was amazing. And you know how it's the same in business. If you're trying to get to 6 figures and everybody in your life is telling you like, you don't come from much, our family doesn't do that. Who cares what they say? But it only takes one voice telling you that you can to make all the difference. And it's the same, like now I hit 6 figures and then immediately doubled it in the next month, like hit 6 figures the next month. And then,
You are amazing.
Next year, I'm like, I'm going for $1 million.
Yes. And you'll do it.
And I have lots of voices telling me like, that's a really big leap. And I'm like, but I have one voice telling me I can.
You can totally do it.
Now I have 2.
You have 2. You can totally do it. You can 100%
I'm only going to
do
listen.
it.
I'm only going to listen to those ones. So that same thing happened with the tumor. The day I was diagnosed, a really dear friend of our family showed up on our porch. He was a chiropractor. He canceled his like 50 patients, canceled his whole day, showed up on my porch, handed me an iPad mini preloaded with the Olive Tree Bible app and all of the verses that he could find about healing. And he said, this is tools for the battle and we're going to fight. And by the way,
I'm going to cry. Oh, goodness.
And he said, Johanna, you've talked your whole life and said you believe in God and that you believe healing is possible, but now is your chance to actually stand on what you believe. And you have to say that out loud. You're not allowed to say, I have a tumor, I am sick, all of these things. He's like, you can say the doctor says this, or the latest scan says this, or he's like, stop owning it, stop claiming it, because your body is going to believe you. So here's these verses. Anytime you're tempted to say that, say this instead, like this is what you do. And that is when I learned that what you believe matters, but what you do about what you believe matters way more. And I had to go from believing something kind of loosely as a general concept to, do I actually believe that this is true enough that I will look like a fool and tell people I'm not quitting. I am going to be healed. I am this. And I believe this, even as my head is pounding and my like eyes are twitching and my throat is collapsing. Like, am I going to tell them this? Wow. And you know, the silly thing is, I was more afraid of looking like an idiot than I was of dying, I think. How bad is that?
I get it. Mm-hmm.
But I was like, but what if I tell everyone that I believe this and then I'm not healed? And then I look like another one of those fake touters of faith who are like, yeah, it works. I'm broken and my leg is broken and like my arm fell off, but it totally works. Like I was so scared of looking like a imposter syndrome 101, maybe fraud. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was like, who cares what they think? Who cares what they say? It only matters this. And then I tried all the excuses, but so-and-so also was a Christian and believed and they died. And so-and-so this and so-and-so this. And he was like, stop. Their stories are not your story. You don't know what they really believed, or you don't know what they stood on, what they believed. Like all you know is what's right here. And it says that he healed everyone who believed.
Oh my gosh.
That's the only thing that you need to stand on. And I was like, it was hard. I hated him for a little while because he was the only one that wouldn't let me like feel sorry for myself. And every time we'd get together, he would push me and I'd be like, Zach, I'm mad at you. Yeah. But also he loved so well. And he wasn't afraid of me hating him. He was the only one brave enough to tell me something unpopular. And so I started doing that. And I would like call my parents or call my boyfriend, who's now my husband. Like if the pain was so intense and I couldn't get out of bed, I'd call them and I'd say, I can't read the verses. I need you to.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
They would just speak them out. And I'd say, okay, like body, this is what's what. And so that quote from your podcast where it was like, basically there's what you can see and then there's what is. And sometimes you need to just claim what is and tell it to the physical. It was like that. It just clicked one day. There's this verse, and I apologize to your listeners for going all Bible on you, but it's like,
this is great.
I don't know how to tell my story.
Yeah, please. No, please. Oh, I'm so moved. Yeah. Keep going.
There's this verse that I've read all my life. And, when you need it, then it takes different meaning.
Yeah.
Like it's alive. That's why I believe the Bible is alive, because it takes shape and applies where you need it right then. And so it's this verse that says, if you live by the flesh, you will die. But if you by the Spirit put to death the misdeeds of the flesh, you will live. And I was like, well, a tumor is definitely a misdeed. It's not supposed to be here. It's not part of my perfect form. It's not part of how I was made. And you mean I can just choose? I get to just tell it? Like,
yes.
what?
Yeah. And no, go ahead.
No, pull from it what you will. But that was my like revelation of, I have a say in the matter.
Yes.
And I get to go, okay, I believe I am healed. And I'm going to start telling my body that, instead of letting the pain and the symptoms tell me what's going on.
Yes.
And so it was like this roller coaster. In the first, I had muscles that were atrophied, like this one completely gone. The one behind my collarbone, completely gone. Just looked like somebody had scooped him out with an ice cream scoop. And the doctor said that was nerve damage from the tumor. And that even if they removed the tumor, that wouldn't come back. And so right there, it was like, okay, here's something I can watch for. And I started standing on these verses and getting better and better and better. And my muscles came back. Like in the first 6 months, my body started functioning amazing, but I wanted certainty. So I went ahead with my like 6-month appointment to the next surgeon, got an MRI, and I'm expecting to see a clean scan because I'm like functioning and better and everything. And they do it and they come out and they're like, well, we're not for sure because it's on a different machine, but it's either the same or it's bigger. Wow. And by the way, here's all the next symptoms you're about to experience. Like your face is going to swell and like your eyes going to lose vision and all of these things.
Oh my God. I just want to redo the whole medical community. Please keep going. But this is like, oh my gosh.
So wow. I went into it with like all of this faith. And then I left with all of my symptoms back because I believed him. Like,
so I want to hone in on something you just said that's so important. So when you left, like, did you start experiencing a reoccurrence of the symptoms? Okay. So this is like your story. And I love this because I was not thinking we were going to go in this direction on this podcast, but it's so powerful. It is literally just such a demonstration of the power of your belief and your thoughts. And that we literally control our physical and people I didn't get this for a long time. It actually makes a lot of sense when you start studying it, but literally it's like the physical manifestation is the last piece, but it all starts with your belief. So you can literally shift your physical body, your circumstances by your thoughts. And when someone comes in and has a white lab coat on as an authority figure and tells you something, it like goes straight into your subconscious, right? If you're not mindful, and then your body will produce whatever in your subconscious. So I want to pause on that because I think we can apply this to everything: health, finances, our business, all of it. It's whatever you are thinking about. And if you're believing someone telling you something about your life, it will move into form. So keep going. But this is like, this is so powerful. Yeah.
That was my biggest takeaway, was like, what? I feel better. I look better. Everything's functioning. And then I go here and the doctor, who's learned, physician, a brain surgeon, for crying out loud, like they've had more college than anyone pretty much, tells me this. And I couldn't help but believe him. I trusted his authority more than my heart, more than what I knew, or more than God. And I really wanted a clean scan. Like I wanted certainty. I wanted to be able to prove to people that I'm not making this up. I am healed. And so I left that appointment just totally crushed. My symptoms came back and they said, like, here's an experimental treatment. We'll try on you in 3 months. So come back then. So like over those, then they actually called like a week later and said, never mind, I wasn't a good candidate. So
Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
encouraging. That happened a
That's
lot.
great. Nothing like that to instill some faith in you.
But
Wow.
I finally then I pushed through again. I reapplied everything. I restood, and kept going, and the symptoms went away again and my body got better. And then I go for my next appointment. I'm like, this is going to be the time.
Yeah.
Then they did another scan on a different machine. And they go, well, we can't really tell, same or bigger. And I can't help you, but I'm going to submit your stuff to a panel of other surgeons. Maybe one of them will pull you from the hat and be able to help you. So this roller coaster continued for 2 years or 2.5 years, where I would get better. And then I'd get a scan and it'd say, just kidding, you're not better according to this. And then I'd plummet, and then I'd go up. And I finally had to say, I refuse to take the doctor's word as the last word. And I love doctors. They do a lot of good, and I'm friends with many of them. Yeah. But in this case, I had to be my own advocate.
Yes.
And say no, I can't. And it finally ended where we had a surgeon who said he could totally help. The risks were minimal. They were going to go in through my ear, take it out, all this stuff. They signed me up for surgery, and I showed up for surgery. It's 5 a.m., haven't eaten in 24 hours. Family flew in from across the country because it's supposed to be this 10-hour surgery with a month-long recovery. And I'm there on the operating table. Anesthesiologist is here, ready to knock me out. The doctor walks in with my charts and he goes, I changed my mind.
What?
And he said, looking at this, I actually think the risks are much higher now. It would be could put you on a feeding tube for life or in a wheelchair for life. And when I look at you and your body and your symptoms, you look perfect. And I can't do this to a healthy person. And I was, of course, confused and mad and angry and furious, because at this point, I should have just trusted and said, I am healed, I am well, and just gone on with life. But it was that, I want certainty so bad, even if it comes with risk to my perfectly functioning body. Sign me up, because I just want to never think about this again. And I was so mad at him then. I'm so grateful to him now.
Sure.
For not needlessly risking. But the funny thing was, he said, we still want you to come back every 6 months and do a watch and wait thing, and we'll do a scan. And I was like, but you're not doing anything about the scans. You just said you're only going to do something based on my symptoms, right? And so I'm not coming back every 6 months to have the pants scared off of me. I'm not sure my faith is quite strong enough for that.
I get it. Wow. So so what ended up happening?
So I just walked out, said, I'm done with this. And I'm going to say, I am healed, and stand on that. And I don't need to see it. I no longer need to see the scan that I can show everybody and prove that I'm not a fraud, or prove that I didn't make it up, or guess what? This is now a living and active faith.
Yes.
that carries through life every day. And occasionally I freak out. I get a headache and I go, headache, I have a headache. Yeah. Which is also applies in business and life. You get to the next level, and then those same silly fears come back
in a different format, right? Yeah. They can be disguised. They can look a little prettier next time, but there's kind of I don't know about you, but I think there's these life lessons that we get to learn. And for each of us, they're different, but they tend to be in certain theme areas for each of us. And so it's we will get new opportunities to learn that lesson at a deeper level with every ascension as well. So here's what I want to do, because this is so incredible. And I've never made an on-the-spot decision like this before. I would love, because I want you to also talk about visual brand in your area of expertise. I know, but here's what I want to do. What I want to do, if you'll be up for it. and we're recording, so you can't say no. Would you be, just kidding. Would you be open to coming back for a part 2 where we dive into branding? Because I feel like this piece is it's like, this has been a full conversation, and I want to have you land on the illusion of certainty and how you apply that in your life now, because you've had so many quantum leaps. So it's like, this is going to be the mindset part, and then we're going to have you back for a part 2 to talk about the tactical. Are you good with that? Would you be open to
absolutely.
that? I love it. Okay. So for everyone listening, you're going to you're going to love it. Like, I am just so drawn by your story, and I got so much out of listening to you, and I'm so grateful for you sharing that. And that was exactly how this episode was meant to be. And so we're going to have you back to talk about visual brand. And like, we'll do a part 1, part 2 of this,
Okay.
but I want you to land the plane for us I want to bring it home with the illusion of certainty. And how do you use that concept now in your life to help you achieve quantum leaps?
Oh man, I use it every day. Okay, I'm going to tie that question back to another quote from your podcast. I told you I was totally fangirling over that.
I feel very honored right now. Yeah.
But the part where you talked about, like, we don't fear the situation, we fear how the situation makes us feel. Right. And I forget the exact words or who said it. It was really good. I should have written it down. But
we got the gist. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
But during this tumor, like shortly after the first idiot said, you should just give up and die, basically. Like, why are you fighting this? Why are you being so freaking optimistic, Johanna? Like, you're too happy right now. It was then that it sort of like, I dug deep and it clicked, and I said, I'm not afraid of dying. But what I'm afraid of is living in a subpar life, like paralyzed or like whatever. At that time, I was afraid of losing my quality of life. And I was afraid of not being happy and of losing my joy. And then I was like, okay, so what if that's not where my joy comes from? What if I can choose joy in any circumstance? And then I have nothing left to be afraid of, because joy is from the Lord. Joy is from within. Joy is from like life and people. And like, there's always something to find joy in. That can't be taken from me. Therefore, there's nothing left to fear, because I don't fear death, and you can't take my joy. And so that became my certainty. And the same thing is what I applied to my business. Like, uncertainty is rampant, like right now, stuff is shutting down again for COVID travels and all of this stuff. And my head has literally been spinning with, how do I serve my clients in this time? Like, what if I can't travel to them for their personal branding shoot, or like this, and like, what if then they think I'm a terrible person, because, which they wouldn't, because they're all dealing with,
but your brain will tell you stories like that. Yeah.
Your brain will tell you that. And that uncertainty becomes that hamster wheel. And then I look at it and I go, nope, same thing. Like, what if I can't go? I choose joy. I will still have an amazing thing. Like, I had a trip, I was supposed to go to Prague, and it got canceled because Switzerland like changed their policy last second. Couldn't go. And I said, that was uncertainty at its finest. And instead, I'm going to make the absolute best of the fact that I can't go. And I landed my dream client. I bought my dream horse, which I had been looking for a year. And like, also another client signed up that I had sent a proposal 2 months ago, and suddenly it was signed in my inbox. And it was because I said, I choose joy.
Yes.
And like, in Brand Builders talks about finding your uniqueness. And I think that mine is joy. That is my antidote to uncertainty. Or just like this, like, I realized with the tumor, like I thought I was perfectly healthy, and then I wasn't. I could not have predicted that. I ate healthy. I worked out. Like, I had a grip strength that was 40 pounds stronger than the average woman and like 10 pounds stronger than the average man.
Wow.
At that point, like you wouldn't have said, oh, she's about to have a tumor.
Everything from what you just shared, I think the biggest thing, and I think this is so important for me to hear today and for everyone to hear today, is if you want to live a really epic life, certainty can't be the goal.
Yeah.
Joy has to be the goal.
Yep.
And that's like, just feel like really remembering that. Am I trying to do things so that I feel certain? Because if you are, I can promise you, you're going to live a life where you look back at the end and wish you had gone for it.
Yeah.
And wish you had seen what happened. And so I'm just like, I adore you. I'm in love with you. I'm so inspired by your story. And we're going to have you back for part 2.
Okay.
To dig into your
It's a
your
deal.
professional expertise. So I'm so excited for that. Will you please tell everyone where they can connect with you, where they can get more, like until we dive into part 2, because I know they're going to want to go ahead and connect and find out more about you and start following you because you're so inspirational.
Yes, absolutely. So, for following, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, both as Designed by Jo Studio. You can find me on there. But if you want to reach out, go to my website, designedbyjostudio.com, and just schedule a free consult. Don't be scared that it says that. You don't have to want branding. Let's just chat. I would love to connect with you.
You're going to have like you're going to have another business as a mindset coach after this. I mean, seriously.
I have tried, Elyse, I have tried so hard to not be a coach. It's hilarious. My dad is a life coach. My husband is a career coach for engineers.
Oh my
and
God.
like, I'm surrounded by coaches. Like, I will not be a coach.
Oh, it's happening. It's inevitable. I think it's time to just surrender and say it's happening.
That whole, bring that up again next time.
I will.
Surrender and the massive action. I feel like, okay, God, I gotta surrender. It's just happening.
I get the nudges. I'm listening. Right? Oh my gosh. Well, Jo, thank you for everything today. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your boldness. Thank you for just being an example of trusting yourself, which is actually the core message of She Sells. And I'm so grateful to you. I'm so grateful to you for being here.
Thank you for having me. And I realized like I did leave a tiny cliffhanger, but it's so unimportant.
Well, you got to tell us what it is. Okay. You got to tell us what it is.
Feel free to edit this back into the part of the video where you actually asked the question about starting the 3 businesses. And then I went into the yoga pants.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So tell us, so we've got like 1 minute. So tell us, and then we're going
to. So those pants inspired me so much that I thought that other women needed that opportunity. So I started Uniquely Yoga, which is yoga pants made out of recycled water bottles that like fit amazing and look amazing. And I would go to pop-ups sometimes and watch women run out of the dressing room and be like, have you seen my butt? I look freaking amazing.
We all need those pants.
And I just wanted them to, pants. I started that so that I would have a way to connect with other women who might have gone through similar things, who might've been told like that their health is like they're going to die. And to just have a way to give them something to encourage them to keep moving no matter what. And that, so that was Uniquely Yoga. And then the third company was a motorcycle company, actually, which has since shut down because who has time to run 3?
Yeah, no kidding.
But we were building custom cafe racer motorcycles because that's just one of my passions. But now it's just for fun. The garage is just a stable of motorcycles and no more business because Designed by Jo deserved all my attention. But
goodness.
So sorry for that cliffhanger. I was like, I can't answer that.
I got so swept up by your story that I forgot, but I'm so glad you've closed the loop on that. Cause I know we have listeners who are like, but wait, but you said something about yoga pants and then at least took it down a different track. So thank you. I know. I think the biggest thing that I just want to, there's so many things I want to leave everyone with. And I probably also said, wow, in this episode more than any other I've ever done. I realize as we wrap here, but speaking, I don't know who says this, but she says, faith is truth spoken in advance. And so your current reality whether it's your financial reality, your health reality, that's old news. By the time it's your physical reality, it's all just a reflection of the past. And so we get to consciously create a different future for ourselves. And we do it by starting with our thoughts and then verbalizing and vocalizing what we want, and then acting as if, knowing that faith is truth spoken in advance. And so you're such a beautiful example of that. And I just want to say thank you for that. And I want to encourage everyone listening to connect with you and also to get excited, because if part one, which is like, I did not know this amazingness was going to come out of it. I can't wait to learn from you about creating a visual brand that exemplifies who you are and that has heart and that draws people in with the energy and enthusiasm that you share here. So thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
You're so welcome. I look forward to part 2. Just send me the link. I will book it. We will do this.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, my friend. Well, as always, thank you so much for being a listener of She Sells Radio. I'm so grateful for you. And I really encourage you, go out and connect with Jo and get super inspired by her, by just her spirit, her mindset. And then also, I know you'll pick up some amazing branding techniques for your business and for growing your sales as well. And I will see you next week on our next episode of She Sells Radio. Bye for now.